Today we are talking about the danger of feminism and why it ultimately leads to destruction, mayhem, disorder. And Jennifer Newsom, she's going to be our case study today because, y'all, what this woman is saying out loud, it is exactly what a whole lot of elite feminist women, they actually believe quietly. Y'all, these women are sick. Now, Jennifer Newsom, she's actually just arrogant enough and bold enough to say the quiet part out loud. And you know what? Some of the clips we're going to go over today are kind of old, but I am so glad that these clips have resurfaced and we now know exactly who this woman is, because now the mask is off. Now we can clearly see what this bankrupt worldview actually produces. The first thing, one of the biggest lies that have ever been sold to this country is that feminism is just about fairness, all about equality. Now, maybe on some level, first wave feminism was, but overall, that's a lie. Okay, that may have been how it was introduced. It came on the scene that way. That may be, the little perfume that it sprays before it walks in the room, but that is not where feminism stops. Okay, feminism never stops at fairness. That's the trap. There's this continuum that you can follow when you look at the trajectory of where feminism started and where it leads today. See, it starts with equal dignity, right? And you're like, oh, isn't that cute? They just want equal dignity. Like, just image bearers in the sight of God. They just want to be equal. But then it moves to resentment of distinction. The distinction between men and women, they start to resent that. Then it moves to, suspicion of leadership. Well, the men are all in charge, and that can't be right. Something must be wrong with that. And then it moves. You start to see the hostility toward male authority itself. Then from the male authority, it moves to dismantling the family order and the family structure of things. And then it moves to just blurring the categories of male and female all together. You like, well, wait a minute, how did we get here? And then once it's destroyed the whole structure, it kind of just stands in the rubble, kind of like pumping its fists up and down, claiming liberation. What I just described, that is feminism. You guys, it is not satisfied until every hierarchy is challenged, every role is blurred, every standard is softened, and every distinction that God himself built into creation is treated like oppression. Y'all, this is why Jennifer Newsom matters. It's not that she got some crazy ideas. It's because she's not just saying, oh, women matter and we want to be seen and heard. No sane person denies that women matter. In fact, America is one of the bastions of freedom and liberation on the face of the earth, where women can flourish and be their authentic selves. Now, that might be part of the problem of how we got here. We relaxed the standards too much. But Jennifer Newsom is pushing the same old feminist poison that says boys are a problem and they need to be corrected. Masculinity, it is a threat that needs to be managed. And gender itself, that is something that must be deconstructed. Y'all, that is not fairness. That is full-blown rebellion. And Christians, you need to stop being so soft and sentimental about this, because this is not some cute little difference of opinion. We are in spiritual warfare. Okay.
Boys, we all know, I think, or increasingly are realizing that boys are moving away from sort of the more progressive boys that spend time online, are moving a little bit, I'm trying not to be political here, but are moving to the right and being sort of influenced by the Andrew Tates and some of that sort of alt-right socialization online that we know is very, very dangerous. My husband and I were alarmed when our kids were watching sports online, and my son knew about Andrew Tate and thought he was pretty cool, and thought that his Republican grandfather, who's not a Trumper but a fiscal conservative, thought that my father would like Andrew Tate. So that's scary. We're like one of the most progressive households, and our son is confused and asking all these questions. We're working on legislation to hold tech companies accountable and help them be a force for good in our kids and families' lives. To really provide all the best in class resources and support for youth so that they don't go down this rabbit hole of very, very dangerous and limiting narratives around ultimately what it means to be a girl and what it means to be a boy. We owe it to them and ourselves to kind of heal this gift of modern technology, but curb it to be a force for good. I mean, look, the Gov and I, we have 3 more years. We're trying to institutionalize our values so that they carry on beyond our term. Boys, we all...
Y'all heard it? Did you hear that? Jennifer Newsom has just said that boys are increasingly moving away from progressive voices, and they're spending time online, moving to the right, and then being influenced by what she calls dangerous alt-right socialization. Who knew that teaching boys to be boys and to have this masculine mystique about them, and to want to be rough and tough and dirty and gritty and grimy. I don't know, to grow up to be a man. She calls that alt-right socialization. And then she says that Gavin and her were alarmed that their own son knew who Andrew Tate was, and thought that he was cool. Now hear me clearly. I'm not saying that Andrew Tate is someone that your children need to look up to, but what her sons were attracted to was the mystique of masculinity that is so missing because their daddy is a jellyback soy boy. He's just effeminate and walks around on a leash that Jennifer Newsom is on the other end of. Now, before all of the professional liars get offended, this is not about me, like I said, defending Andrew Tate. That is not even the point. Grow up, okay? The point is what her reaction reveals. Her reaction reveals that the real fear is not simply bad influences. The real fear is that boys are becoming unconvinced by feminism because they see it for the toxic foolishness that it is. That is what bothers her. Because what she described was not some little boy spiraling into crime. No, what she described was a boy asking questions. A boy noticing contradictions. Boys being curious and being logical and beginning to test the narrative. And instead of saying, well, let's raise these boys with some heteronormative, biblically clear values that are led by moral conviction and common sense and logic. No, her instinct is to panic that her son may be drifting ideologically. That tells you everything you need to know. I'm telling you, modern feminism, it does not trust boys to become men. It is the most rebellious, controlling worldview that seeks to usurp the authority of men because they want women to rule the world. And they believe that if women were ruling the world, things would be so much better. They want to intercept boys before they become men. It wants to medicate their instincts and dumb them down. And it wants to moralize their aggression and wants to feminize all of their healthy masculine formation. She wants to strip them of any sort of masculine confidence and then replace it with some therapeutic, girly, feminized compliance. Y'all, a world like that is dangerous. And she does that because the feminist mind, it's so warped and perverted. But they believe that strong masculine identity is always one step away from a threat. So that's why they have to constantly push against it. This is how these women think. If a boy is assertive, they'll call him problematic. If he leans into his competitive streak, which is natural, oh, now he's aggressive. If he is skeptical of progressive ideology, which he should be, they'll say that he's been radicalized. If a boy wants clarity about what does it mean, mom, to be male? What does it mean, dad, to be a man? They'll want to label him as being confused and attempt to step in and give him the correction that they believe he needs. Do y'all see what is happening? The feminist worldview pathologizes normal male development. This is the foolishness that we are contending against today. And once a culture starts treating healthy masculine formation like a public danger, y'all, that culture is committing civilizational suicide. We are done. Stick a fork in it. We are done. I don't even see how you come back from that, because boys don't stop needing direction just because feminists hate masculinity. Boys will begin to seek models somewhere else. And if the fathers in their life don't form them, the internet will. Let me go ahead. I'm going to play another clip so that you guys will understand what I mean. Take a look at this.
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off. I've given them dolls to learn that care and caregiving is not just an activity that's reserved for women, but that it's also an activity that is a responsibility of men. What I've done with both my daughters and my sons is, if I'm reading a book and the protagonist is a male, I just change the he to a she. And it just normalizes for my sons in particular. I don't even just do it for my girls. I do it for my sons because I want them to see that women can be the center of a story, that women matter, that women are interesting. At the end of the day, we're all kind of like in this place in history maybe where we're recognizing what it is to ultimately deconstruct all these gender roles and ultimately be human. And that's exciting to me. So, I'll just continue to kind of do my work and try and deconstruct all of these like limiting narratives about ultimately what it means to be human. Like every problem that we have in society right now will be fixed when women come together and partner with our male allies and other allies. But when more women are in the rooms, making decisions, changing the status quo, and transforming not just our culture, but our society and our economy. I'll give you one example. Look at Silicon Valley. Had more women been early on in those companies or at the tables of power making decisions, I don't think we would have so much or have allowed for so much sort of bigotry, racism, misogyny, and hate online. I don't think that we would have the anonymity of it. I think that there would have been ooh, that's unkind. That's not okay. You can't make money off of that, about dividing people, misinforming people, belittling people, bullying people. I mean, again, think about who's the victims online more often than not. It's women, LGBTQ+, marginalized communities, women of color.
Listen, hide your kids, hide your wife. I'm telling you what I know. Gavin Newsom's wife, Jennifer Newsom, is a stone cold, bat crazy, full-blown orangutan. This feminazi, I have seen some feminists that were like next level, but this woman takes the cake. This chick wants to run a police state. This woman is bat crazy. Thank you, Gavin, for allowing this woman to emasculate you so much that y'all put a mic in her hand and allowed her to tell us everything that we needed to hear to tank your campaign before it even started. Y'all, I haven't even talked about the political implications of this and what it means for Gavin. This woman is done. But this woman No, when I mean this woman is done, she's done. Her worldview's bankrupt, but Gavin is done because of her. This woman just said something that should alarm every parent in this country. She talks about giving her boys dolls. She talks about changing male characters in books into female ones to show that women are important. And I'm like, ma'am, who says women are not important? I've been a woman my whole life. I have yet to see all of this misogyny that all of these feminists talk about all the time. I'm like, everywhere I go, I've never felt like men hated me. But what these women are misinterpreting, what they're labeling misogyny, it is literally healthy boundaries and limitations, because a man is like, listen, you're not the boss of me. You're not going to run this show and run me and think you're in charge. And so to a feminist, when you put a roadblock and a boundary in place like that, to her, that's hatred. Oh, you hate me. Now you're saying that women are not important. No, we're saying you're crazy. Okay? That's what we're saying. But then she says, we're at this moment in history where we're learning to deconstruct gender roles and just kind of look at people as being simply human. Okay, yes, we are simply human. But the heart of what she is saying is deconstruct their gender roles. And it sounds real polished, like the liberal progressive feminazi. They sound so compassionate and so enlightened, but y'all, underneath that little glossy phrase is a full-scale rebellion against created order. This woman hates God. She is saying that what God established and distinguished in the complementarian relationship between the way men are and women are, the way God created men and that the way he created women, that men are defective. That the way she acknowledges that, without saying it, that the way God created women is normal and righteous and perfect. But men, we've got to deconstruct the gender norms because there's a defect in y'all. Man, there's something wrong with y'all. That's not right. We can't allow that. This, not only does she want to implement a police state where your language and your natural response to a situation be if you're a man, now that's problematic and it's deemed dangerous and she wants to penalize you for that. But when she says that she wants to deconstruct gender, what she really means is we got to remove the boundaries. Let's blur all of the distinctions. We have to destabilize identity, flatten the sexes. There can't be a difference. No, we got to treat difference like it's oppression. And then make all of the confusion, make it sound noble and caring. And that you're just interested in protecting one group from another. Let's be fair. I'm not saying that boys can't learn tenderness and how to be able to handle women a certain way. And nobody is saying that girls cannot be brave. That is not the point. The point in what she said is the motive, and the point is the ideology behind it. She is not talking about cultivating virtue. She's talking about dismantling categories. That is significantly different. Biblically speaking, men and women are equal in essence and value, but they are distinct in design. Only a crazy person that is delusional would deny that. And those distinctions that God created, it's not a burden, y'all. It is a blessing. Trust me. Listen, I don't want to be a man. I don't want to shoulder the burden that men shoulder. I don't want to have to think on my feet like men do. It is too much pressure to be a man. I just want to rest in the ability to be cute and rub your back and tell you it's going to be okay. And did I say be cute? I want to do a lot of that. You know what I mean? I don't want to touch the trash. I don't want to get up under a car and change no oil. I'm not interested in a flat tire. I'm like, can someone call a man, please? When it comes down to decisions, when my brain is scattered and it's so many things competing for its attention all at one time, I need a man to come in and bring some order to the matter and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go here, then we're going to do, then we're going to go there. And then after that, this is the end goal. Take me on the journey and tell me what to do. All that thinking is too much. Yes, I can think, but I'm just saying, being a man is not a being a man is not a defective woman. And when you are a woman, particularly a godly woman, you're not an oppressed man. God was not confused when he made sexes. We're the ones that are confused when we start trying to edit God's design to fit into our morally deficient and wretched, sinful feelings. That's what happens. That is where feminism will always lead you guys. It starts by resenting the fact that there are specific gender roles. And then it starts resenting distinction itself. And then it ends with all of this gender confusion. This is why the kids are being taught that identity it's fluid, you know. This is how you end up with a society that cannot even define what a man or a woman is without a committee and some decision makers at the top and a therapist and a whole DEI consultant. This is not progress. Y'all, this is insanity. And public funds are being used to push this insanity. This is why I wanted to cover this. I could have covered this from the fact that, Gavin Newsom's his political career or aspirations to be president is done because his wife is a flaming feminist nut job that needed to go sit down somewhere with her ratchet self. I could have covered it from that perspective, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted you guys to wake up and understand that the war on gender is a war on reality. It is shaking your fist at God. It is always at war with God. This type of worldview creates weak men. Exhibit B, Gavin Newsom. This woman is angry and hateful, and I feel bad for her confused children. This is the point that I want to drive home. Y'all, we don't have to guess where this worldview leads. Okay, we've already seen it. We see what happens when a culture embraces feminism long enough. You get weak men, angry, bitter women, confused children. Homes where the mothers are exhausted because they were told that all of that independence is what makes you powerful and strong. But now they're carrying the burdens that God never intended them to carry alone. This worldview gets you men who've been so shamed and mocked and put on the sidelines that they either become way too passive or worse, predatory. That's what this worldview gets you. Your boys get raised without a stable masculine formation. They don't even know what it is to be a boy. And then the girls, they're raised to see leadership as oppressive. And if they submit, now they're weak. You get families where everybody is fighting for authority, but nobody wants the responsibility. A whole society just full of emotionalism, chaos, disorder, chronic resentment, men and women constantly at one another. If we want to be honest, y'all ain't gonna like this part. But we can look at the Black community as one of the most painful examples of what happens when matriarchal squalor and fatherlessness and state dependence and moral disorder, when that becomes normalized, this is what you get. And I'm not saying every Black household is dysfunctional. And I'm not saying that every Black woman is a feminist. But what I am saying is that we have more than enough evidence right in front of us to see what happens when the order in the home and the family collapses and women are taught to rule over men and to rule from pain while men are absent, passive, and dishonored. Y'all, the results of this is so devastating. Everybody, the children are just jacked up. They have no structure. The boys are without fathers. The girls are absent of protection. And then the women that are ratcheting behavior, the female imbecile who can't manage her misery, so she's showing out, they're hardened because they're in a perpetual state of survival mode. The men, they detach themselves from their responsibility, and then the whole community is ruled by emotion instead of order. It's devastating. Absolutely devastating. And then what does feminism do? Feminism sits back at all of the wreckage it helped create. And then it still ain't satisfied. It demands more of the same. Well, we want more female control. Men, we need to be more suspicious of men. You heard it in her statement when she said that if Silicon Valley had had more women in charge, basically we'd have more censorship. That is what she said. She wants more government intervention, more state control, more ideological programming, and more gender confusion. She just wants more rebellion against order. She has made it her life's work to ensure that this worldview lingers well beyond her husband's tenure as the governor of California. Can you imagine what they would do to this country? That is why feminism is not merely mistaken and confused. No, it is self-destructive. It breaks the thing that it claims to fix. And Jennifer Newsom, she's just this polished little elite, privileged version of that same wicked spirit. She's simply what matriarchal ideology looks like when you got money, little media training, and dare I say, a government title. This woman even rejects. She don't even want to be called the first lady. She views herself as the first partner. She thinks she co-running something. Y'all want a first partner in the White House? Huh? Is that what you want? Because if you vote for Gavin Newsom, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. Another point, or should I say the last point that needs to be made, is that the end game of feminism is not equality. Oh, y'all thought, oh, I told y'all it was never that. It is female moral supremacy. She want to reign supreme. That is why feminist rhetoric always assumes that women are the natural healers and the ones that naturally come in and stabilize everything. They're the natural moral center. They know what's right. But men are always positioned as the danger, the problem. They are the threat. They are the cause of the disorder. Y'all, Jennifer Newsom basically says societies would be fixed by more women making the decisions. That if more women had been at the table at the tech companies early on, there'd be less hatred and less bullying and less division, less toxicity. In other words, if women ran things, society would be better. That is feminist theology right there. Female messianism. They think they are the Messiah that needs to come and fix everything. It's the belief that women, simply by virtue of being women, would produce a more righteous world. If that's not the most wicked, perverted thing I've ever heard, I don't know what is. Y'all, women, I don't know how you don't know this. Women are sinners too. Eve is how we got into this situation to begin with. Women are sinners too. Women lie. Women manipulate. Women can be cruel too. And you know what else women do? Women can destroy homes. They can be vain and domineering and rebellious and downright wicked. The Bible doesn't teach that men are falling, but women are the only ones who are redeemable. They're the only ones that have some moral redemptive quality to them. No, the Bible teaches that all have sinned. There is no one righteous, no, not one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. So if you're listening to a worldview that subtly presents women as societal's redeemers, that ain't biblical. It's idolatrous and wicked, and it needs to be called out. And once women start being treated like the moral corrective to history, do you want to know what's going to happen next? They're going to stop seeing men as partners to build lives with, and they're going to start treating those men like obstacles. Y'all are just in the way, so we got to move you. They're not going to view the family as some covenant relationship. They'll start seeing it as a negotiation tactic. They'll stop seeing motherhood as stewardship and a responsibility and a duty ordained by God. It's political activism. That's why they use their children as pawns. Their children are not seen as gifts from God. They start to see them as clay to be molded into their ideological trophy, just jacking them up in the process. That is what Jennifer Newsom's rhetoric sounds like. That's where it leads. This woman is not a mother that's simply trying to raise healthy, well-adjusted children. No, she's a cultural activist trying to re-engineer the next generation, and your children are in her crosshairs. That is dangerous. That is, once feminism gets that kind of institutionalized power, it doesn't stay personal. It becomes policy. It shows up in the education, in the HR department. It's all on your Netflix, in your entertainment. Next thing you know, it's legislation. You'll feel all of the social pressure, and the state will continue to reach deeper and deeper into the formation of your children. I told you, they believe that they share custody of your children. We don't share custody of our children with the government, but that's the road where all of this leads. So as it relates to politics, the reason Jennifer Newsom matters oh so much is because she helps expose Gavin Newsom. That's why we need her to keep talking. People keep trying to sell Gavin Newsom to us as some slick little moderate. Lies. No, he is not. He's a California progressive with some really nice hair gel. That's all he is. And his Looney Tune wife, she helps to reveal the real worldview behind the package. They always say, listen, if you want to understand the man, look at his wife. Look at who he chose. Look at who he's married to. And that'll tell you all you need to know about him. A woman will make or break your life. And in politics, she could either usher you into the heights of the highest heights, or bar you entry into the spaces where you believe that you deserve to be because of her. Because behind that nice little polished smile, behind the carefully managed, language and his media appearances and all of his branding, behind all of that is the same old progressive religion. Men are dangerous. Traditional values are way too oppressive and bad. We can't push those. Masculinity must be softened, and gender must be deconstructed. The children, they have to be ideologically protected from anything that's normal. And we, the state, we must help institutionalize all of it. That's what Jennifer is saying, the quiet part out loud. She literally talks just like somebody who wants to cement her values well beyond their time in office. She said it herself. That should send a chill down the spine of every parent in America, because that is how it always ends up. This is what the left's goal is. They know elections come and go. They know that their time in office is finite. So what do? They try to hardwire their values into the schools, into the media, into the corporate culture, the tech policy. The moral imagination of children are malleable. That's where they start. That way, even if they lose office, the system still carries their doctrine. That is exactly why conservatives should be paying very close attention. And that's the reason why content like this is so valuable and important, because Jennifer Newsom, she is way more important than Gavin ever was. Thank you, Gavin. We so appreciate it. We're so thankful that you let her talk. We have been wondering for a long time. I was talking to a friend. I said, who is Gavin Newsom's wife? We don't really hear much from her. But these two clips, this little montage of her telling us exactly who he is or who she is, tells us exactly who he is. I love it. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Were you alarmed by anything Jennifer Newsom said? Are you like clutching your pearls like, no, this heifer didn't? Is she serious? Yes, she is serious. These people believe this. This is their religion. Or if you're like, April, I really think you're jumping the gun and you're being just low hypersensitive. She just wants girls to feel just as important as men. She's not trying to rule the world, displace men, emasculate men, make your little boys gay. No, she ain't trying to do that. What would make you think that's what she's trying to do? If that's your thought, either side of whichever one it is, leave me your comments down in the comments box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.